back to my YouTube channel. It is December 2020 and we've all had quite a year this year, but actually this video is the Q&A from my Bali to London overland trip that I did from April to September 2019. So we're going way back here. I finally finished all my vlogs from the trip, so they are all up now if you want to check them out. But I was asked a lot of questions while I was on the trip and it's obviously taken me so long to answer them. Just, yeah, 2020 happened and I got quite busy doing some other work-related things, and it's hard to write about travel and talk about travel when no one's traveling and you're not sure if it's a good idea, how much people should be traveling and stuff like that. So that's why there's been a bit of a lull. But I do want to get all of this series finished because I actually have some Thailand videos to upload, and I have some UK based videos to upload as well. So I do want to get this series done so I can start with some other videos. So yeah, I'm going to answer all your questions now. I don't think anyone should be going on a big trip like this now. I think that would be impossible anyway, given that I went to 22 countries, some which have, you know, are in very different situations with COVID and very different restrictions and stuff. So obviously, like, you're not going to be able to travel from Bali to London overland now, and probably not for at least another year. But once it is safe, once we have sorted out this virus, I would highly recommend doing a trip like this if, you know, it's something you want to do. And hopefully this Q&A today will help you, you know, will give you some more of an idea of what it's like to travel from Bali to London overland, especially if you're a solo female traveller and a bit concerned about that. Because I did it completely alone. I did meet, you know, I made lots of friends along the way, but I never travelled. I don't think I ever even went to the next place with a group of people. So yeah, I did it completely on my own, and I'm going to tell you exactly how I did it. One of the main questions I was asked, and one of the ones that I probably should address at the start, was why did I start from Bali? So Bali, I'm sure you all know where it is. It's an island in Indonesia. It's about, I don't think you can fly direct to Bali, but you can fly direct to Jakarta from the UK. And I think it's about a 12 or 13 hour flight, but Bali is only a 2-hour flight from the north of Australia. So yeah, pretty far over the other side of the world from the UK. And I decided to go from there because I wanted to go from the furthest possible point. So ideally I probably would have gone from like the southernmost point of New Zealand and then travelled back to London. Maybe I would have carried on going up to John O'Groats, which is the northernmost point of mainland UK. Anyway, I digress. But I'm not saying that would have been impossible, but it's difficult. Like, it's difficult to get from New Zealand to Australia without flying, and it's difficult to get from Australia to Indonesia or anywhere else in Asia without flying. So because I didn't have that much time, I only had 5 months because I needed a couple of months to get ready, and then after 5 months my sister was graduating and I promised her that I'd be back for her graduation. So I only had 5 months to travel, and I don't think that's possible from to travel from southern New Zealand to the UK overland in 5 months. I don't think it's possible because a lot of time goes spent on waiting for cargo ships and stuff like that. I've heard stories of people waiting for like months for cargo ships, which then obviously gives issues with visas and stuff, because I know for Australia at least most of your visas are only for 3 months. So yeah, there were all sorts of things that could have happened with that. I knew that if I went from Bali, I knew that I could easily get a boat to Java and then fairly easily get up to midpoint of Sumatra and then get to Singapore, and then it's mainland until France. So the Bali route looked the most feasible. again, I could have gone from further on in Indonesia, but again, the boats are a little bit erratic with the schedules, so I might have been waiting a bit longer and spending more time that I didn't have. And also it's really cheap to fly into Bali because it's a really popular place. So if I was then flying from Bali then on to, I'd probably fly into Jakarta and then on to somewhere else, and I would have just been sort of flying further to, if that makes sense. I know I was going back on myself as it was, but it just looked like the most logical place. So I flew into Bali, and yeah, I mean, it's pretty far. I didn't really feel like I had to travel from further to have done the journey. And so I'm going to write about this more in my book, but it's also where the Wallace line is east of Bali, between Bali and Lombok, and that is named after Alfred Russel Wallace, who basically said that Bali was the end of Asia and Lombok was the start of Australasia. So it kind of has some significance with that as well. So there are a few reasons, but those were the main ones. Okay, so another question I've been asked a lot actually is, how much did the trip cost me? My honest answer is I don't know. I know it's not a very good answer, but I didn't save before I went. I worked while travelling. I was in a position in 2019 where I had set up my travel blog to the levels where it was making me a certain amount of money passively each month, and then I was working a bit on top of that as well, and obviously I was working to keep the site updated and everything like that. But it did mean that for those 5 months I didn't have to work full-time, which I normally do. Basically was earning a set amount of money per month, but I wasn't having to work X hours for X amount of money. This has all changed in 2020 because if people aren't travelling, I'm not getting advertising income to my website, but I have very fortunately been able to pick up lots of freelance writing work, which is my main bulk of income at the moment. But then I was very fortunately earning the bulk of my income from my website. So I was earning about £1,500 to £2,000 a month, and I was pretty much spending that. So yeah, so I was spending anything between £1,500, this is all in pounds, to £2,000 a month. So in total that would be £7,500 to £10,000 per month. Sorry, for the whole trip. So for 5 months, £7,500 to 10 grand. I don't know what that is in dollars, maybe $9,000 to $12,000 maybe, but check that. So yeah, that was for 5 months. That was for traveling. I definitely didn't travel on a budget, but I definitely didn't travel luxuriously. I did a bit of a mix. Transport, I'd always go for the cheapest thing. I did lots of, very cheap buses, and trains I'd always go in the, they always have different names, all the classes, but I'd always go in the most basic as long as I had a bed. So in Central Asia, that's called Platzkart, and it's like a big open thing, but you can pay more and get your own little private room, but I never bothered with that. Accommodation wise, I stayed in a real mix of places. I did a few hostels, especially in the more expensive places, but I also did quite a few guest houses, or I'd get my own room at a hostel, and then I had the odd hotel because I thought I'd treat myself occasionally. Food, I don't do food super cheaply because I like to find veggie and if possible vegan food, which is sometimes a bit difficult to do with street food. But saying that, I certainly didn't go out my way to go to any really fancy places. I love food, but a lot of the time I was kind of just eating to sustain myself rather than travelling for food during this trip at least. And what else do you spend money on? Oh, activities. I'd say I probably did every activity I wanted to do, but none of them were crazy expensive. Oh, actually, I did miss out on something, which was partially to do with money, and that was going into the Gobi Desert in Mongolia, because those tours are really expensive, especially if you're on your own. If you're if you're in a group or if you're at least with one other person, then the costs go down and down and down. But also I was trying to sort out my Russian visa then. That's another expense, visas. So I spent about £200 on my Chinese visa, £40 on my Mongolian visa, and I don't know if it was $70 or £70 on my Russian visa. So obviously visas all add up as well. So yeah, I think you could probably do it. If you really budgeted, you could probably do it on maybe £1,000 a month average, because obviously you spend more in some places. Equally, people who travelled a bit more luxuriously than me might spend £3,000 a month. So it really just depends on travel style. I know I'm in a very fortunate position that I was able to just spend the money as I earned it. Yeah, if you are saving up, at least £5,000, a bit more probably. How did I stay safe? So this was asked a lot as well. Obviously I travelled on my own. I travelled to a lot of countries that aren't as touristy. I never really felt unsafe. Never really. Actually, there was one incident in Sumatra, and this could have happened anywhere. It just so happened to happen in Sumatra. But I was on a bus, and it was a really long bus I did, and this guy on the bus, he started talking to me sort of halfway through the journey, and when I got off the bus I kind of got the impression that he was following me and all of this. But I ordered a Gojek, it's called. It's like Uber for motorbikes in Indonesia, and I think the Gojek driver kind of understood the situation I was in, because I was very, you know, can you take me to my hotel and not tell anyone, not tell this man where we're going? And he was very good. He took me straight there and, you know, drove really quickly. But that situation could have happened anywhere. I don't think that's anything on Sumatra. It just happened to happen there. Because I felt very safe everywhere else in Indonesia. I don't know if that man, you know, if he actually was trying to follow me or anything like that. I don't know if that could have gone badly. I just kind of got out of the situation as soon as possible. And that's my biggest advice, I think. If you find yourself in an uncomfortable situation while you're traveling solo, just try and get out of it as soon as possible. And normally you can, obviously sometimes, you know, things do happen sometimes, but really the instances are very rare all over the world, really. The most safe place I felt, I think, was probably Central Asia. I felt safer there than I do in Europe, and I don't think I ever felt unsafe in any of the countries. Like, probably London was probably one of the more dangerous places I went to. I'm from London, so obviously a lot of these countries, a lot of the places I went to are places that a lot of tourists don't go to. So there was a lot of, you know, it's an unknown, but yeah, it all felt really quite safe. I'm just quite, if I travel on my own, I don't stay out too late. I don't drink unless I'm with a group of people who I feel comfortable with. I mean, I chat to a lot of people when I travel, but I wouldn't chat to anyone who gave me uncomfortable vibes, or who, like, you know, it depends what kind of situation I'm in. If I was in a situation where I felt uncomfortable, I wouldn't stick around to chat to anyone. And I mean, you know, if it's an uncomfortable situation, you can't worry about looking rude. You just have to keep yourself safe. But honestly, most people are nice, most people are good, and most places are safe. Obviously not everywhere is, and it's important to check individual places and individual situations because they can change a lot, but generally I did feel very safe. Okay, so the next question is, how did I plan for the trip? I didn't. I booked a trip. I booked a flight from London to Bali back at the end of 2018. I spent 2 months in the UK learning some Russian, getting my visas, and I scheduled a rough route. Like, I knew that I wanted to go through Southeast Asia, north in China, into Mongolia, a bit through Russia, and then Central Asia, over the Caspian Sea, Caucasus, Turkey, Europe. So I knew I wanted to do that route, and I checked everything. I checked that I could go to all of those, checked that I didn't need any more visas, and that everywhere was generally safe, that there weren't any like security concerns. Read a few blogs for all the places, especially some of the places that I didn't know that much about, and that was pretty much it. When I was on the road, I generally booked my next transport, my next accommodation, 1 or 2 stops before. I definitely didn't book things, you know, weeks or months in advance, because you just can't. You just don't really know what's going to happen. The only thing that did need to be booked in advance was the train through Russia. I needed to book that, I think I booked that 3 weeks in advance, and I had to have proof of that to get my Russian visa, because I only applied for a Russian transit visa, because you can't get tourist visas unless you're in your own country. So because I got it in Mongolia, it was a transit visa to get me to Kazakhstan. I can explain more about that in another video if people would like, just let me know. The only thing that I did miss out on a bit was, it wasn't even really miss out, I just couldn't get the train that I planned on, was in Uzbekistan, because quite a lot of the trains were booked out. It was peak season there. But at least when I was in Uzbekistan, I could only book at the station. That might have changed. They might have websites and stuff now, but I couldn't while I was there. So I couldn't book until I got to Uzbekistan anyway. So, but it didn't make a huge deal. Like, I think I ended up spending a day longer one place and a day less in another, but it's fine. So yeah, that was pretty much the extent of my planning. I found it I was more comfortable not planning until a few days before, because I hate cancelling plans. I hate making plans and then cancelling them. So I thought I just won't make any until I know, you know, until just before, when I know where I'm going to be when. So that was how I planned it. Obviously other people might be more comfortable doing different things and planning a bit further in advance, but generally when you're travelling, generally it is better to have a bit of flexibility. Which country did I like best? So, it's difficult to say, because some countries it was my first time in the country, so my only kind of memory of it has been that trip, but other countries I've been to quite a few times before. So yeah, but actually if I think about all my favourite countries, it was probably all new countries I've been to. So I really like Kazakhstan. I really want to go back to Kazakhstan. It's a super interesting country. It's a huge country, and it's like really diverse. There's like so many different like cultures and ways of life and stuff there. And I didn't see enough of the scenery, but I went to the Asi Plateau, which was so nice. I'll share a link down in the description. It was beautiful, and I really want to see more of Kazakh nature. I also really want to go to Kyrgyzstan, because I've heard that the nature's even more incredible there, but unfortunately time restraints meant I didn't quite make it on this trip. I really liked Uzbekistan as well for all the architecture. That was really, really cool. I had the best time in Georgia, in Tbilisi, and that's definitely somewhere that I'll be returning to. And I also really liked Romania. Romania was really cool. Really beautiful and just a really interesting country. So those probably were all my favourite places, and they're all places that I haven't been to before. But I mean, I love Southeast Asia, Cambodia, Indonesia as well. I really want to see more of Indonesia. So yeah, I liked everywhere, really want to see more of Russia as well. I was only in Russia for 5 days, so yeah, lots of places, and a lot of places I'd like to be returning to. Sorry, that wasn't a very conclusive list, but there we go. Okay, so I'm going to answer 2 more questions. So what was my number 1 bit of advice, or what would my number 1 bit of advice be? Good question. Don't plan. I know I've already spoke about this, but honestly, I know like some people might feel a bit more comfortable planning a bit more, but I just wouldn't plan too much, because you never know what's going to happen. My other bit of advice would be, I know I just said don't plan, but I guess I've been thinking about this trip for a long time, not so much planning it like to the T, but been thinking about doing it. I've been saying that I wanted to do it for a long time, like years. And I kind of just got the kick to do it in 2018. Like, a few bad things happened and I was like, I need to do something different in 2019. So I kind of just did it. And I think that would be my other big advice for it, would be just to not think about it too much, and just, if it's something you want to do and you've saved or you have enough income to be able to do it for 5 months, 6 months, 7 months, just do it. Just don't think too much about it, because you know, you kind of, it seems like this crazy thing to do, but actually when I was doing it, it was just like life, you know, that was just what life was like. And it almost, I mean, it totally wasn't repetitive, but it was just, you know, what I was doing. And it's not that, once you're doing it, it's not as crazy and daunting as it seems like before. So I guess my other piece of advice would be to just do it. I would also recommend going for longer than 5 months, because it wasn't enough to see everything I wanted to see. So yeah, if you can, go for longer than 5 months. And finally, the last question is, would I do it again? Absolutely. Probably not the same route, because I have done that route now, but I'd probably do Bali to London, but with a completely different route, going to other places, or, you know, London to somewhere in India, or African overland trip, Cairo to Cape Town, or even, you know, Americas, Alaska to Argentina. They are all things I have in the pipeline, hopefully, for post-COVID times. And once I have this book written, I will be doing that, hopefully, within the next decade. I'll be doing a few more of them. So yeah, absolutely, I would do it again, and I can't wait to do another trip like that again. And I would just really recommend it. Like, if it's something you want to do, I'd really, really recommend it. It's just such a amazing way to see the world, and such a, you know, you see the world on such a deeper level and get to know different cultures and stuff on such a really amazing level by, like, you know, doing all of the overlanding and stuff like that. And yeah, I just love it. So I hope that this video has helped anyone who is thinking of doing a similar trip. Please let me know if you are. Please drop me a message in the comments box. And if you have any more questions, or if there's anything that I've mentioned in this video that you want me to expand on, I can do another video about it. Please let me know, and I'll be happy to go into it a bit more. I'm pretty much at the end of my Bali to London series now. I think I might try and put all the footage I have together and make kind of like a documentary style video about it. But that might take me a little while. So let me know which videos you'd like to see next, because I have a few videos from Thailand that I can share, but I also have some from Southwest England. So from day trips that I've done, obviously this was in the sort of early autumn, before there were a lot more restrictions and lockdowns and stuff, but I did a few day trips to Exeter, the Quantocks, and Somerset, some places in Somerset. So if if you'd like to see those before Thailand videos, then let me know. But I was thinking of doing the Thailand videos first, because I filmed all of those like in January, so I probably should start uploading them. Anyway, I'm going to stop waffling. Thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you've enjoyed it, and yeah, any comments, let me know. And if you've enjoyed it and want to see my future videos, please do subscribe, because then you'll be able to see when they get uploaded. And yeah, thank you very much. Have a great day. Bye.